HARK, we are here. We're back again, quickly this time, with another video about Star Wars Unlimited. You can tell I'm really trying to push, not necessarily the game, but my presence within the game. Although I will probably be pushing the game at some point in time, depending on what happens closer to the release of the game. So yesterday, I released a video that talked about the article that the company, Fantasy Flight Games, published on their website. And we titled the episode last time, episode 1, The First Reveal. This is episode 1.5. I don't actually know what the title is going to be, but you'll find out down there somewhere. But the reason why it's not a whole nother video, or it is a whole nother video, but not a whole nother episode, is because this actually adds on to what the article showcased earlier yesterday. After finishing recording the video and putting it all up, the Fantasy Flight Games did a live stream that had 3 individuals talking about the gameplay, not necessarily the gameplay, but more about the game. And we got a couple of tidbits of information that weren't in the article that I'm going to go over here, including one very exciting development that I think you all will appreciate if you haven't already seen it already. And if you have already seen it, I think you still will appreciate it. So just going to go over some notes I have here on the actual live stream itself. So I'm going to be looking at this screen. I apologize for not having direct eye contact with you during this video. But specifically, a couple of the points that they were trying to lay out within the video or within the live stream was they're attempting to be more transparent with their communication, which is actually pretty big. Yet last week's release announcement, yesterday's article, and then the live stream itself from yesterday gave us a lot of information about the kind of direction they're going to be going with the meta aspects of the game, not competitive gameplay, but how the game itself is going to move forward with its experiences in gameplay, with the experiences in organized play, with the experiences in purchasing the product, stuff like that. So we'll go over these points as we go. But one of the things that they did really come out in front and say is that the people that run Fantasy Flight Games, the developers, all of them, they loved Star Wars Destiny, and this has been a big consternation point within the Star Wars card game community. But the developers recognized that the manufacturing of the dice was one of the main issues is why they couldn't continue with the production of the game. And I totally get that. Creating those dice is super hard. I don't actually understand how WizKids still does it with Dice Masters. I know they've significantly reduced the amount that they produced, but the shipping crisis, the manufacturing crisis, COVID, all really messed with Destiny's ability to keep sets coming out with the product. So they wanted to, that's why they're talking about going into this with no gimmicks, and that they're not having extra dice added to it. Sure, you'll have tokens, but every game has tokens, all kinds of stuff that goes with it, but they want it to be basically based in the cards that you acquire through the products that they sell. So one of the points here that they pointed out was that the game is fast-paced and it has a strategic card play within it. They've had players play games within 7 minutes, but they've also had games go to 15 to 20 minutes, deep but easy to pick up. Now, this point right here, I'll say, is very interesting to me. I think this leaves a lot of room for what competitive tournaments will likely be as best of 3, especially if games can be as short as 10 minutes and as long as 15, maybe 20 minutes. We'll see what timekeeping procedure is when it comes to the actual competitive circuits. So I imagine if they're going to do best of 3, then it definitely needs to be a limit of about 50 minutes per round just in case. But that'll all depend on how they want to keep the tournaments moving as it comes to things going across, right? So one of the other thing that they but talked about, and this was talked about a little bit in the article, was that your decks are going to be built around a leader card, a base card, and then the rest of the cards in your deck, right? The base card, they didn't really explain too much about that, so we don't really know. Speculation is that part of it will be about deck building, but the other part of it may be about the life total that your base has that your opponent tries to attack. But the leader card is the basis of your deck, and then you design the majority of your gameplay around the effects of that. So when we saw the Luke Skywalker where he dropped shields, you're likely going to want to build your deck around blue and light characters that do shields to protect your characters from things as you do move forward. For Darth Vader, it was red and dark icon that does a lot of damage, and you're pushing out damage in what's likely going to be an aggro or an aggressive situation for playing your characters. So the other thing is they did confirm that it's alternating action gameplay. I don't remember if that was in the article or not, but it is something that you take an action, your opponent takes an action. You take an action, your opponent takes an action. Very similar to Destiny, and it'll likely be alternating until 2 players pass in a row, and then you do another turn, right? So in terms of, that's all we really got for gameplay. Base card, leader card, alternating gameplay, alternating action gameplay, and then the fast-pacedness of it. Next, we did get specific and confirmed information that there are 252 unique designs within the first set, but that does not necessarily mean there's 252 cards within the sets. They did specifically say that there will be alt arts, treatments, and bling for cards within the packs themselves, and their goal is to provide game pieces to players who need the game pieces to be able to play, whether casually or competitively, and then collectors get their own stuff with the alternate arts and so on and so forth. We'll go over a little bit more of that later when we get to what their 3 C's are for their organized play program. That'll make sense here in just a second. They did announce that they've been designing sets for a while, and they have confirmed, for the most part, 3 sets for the entire first year of the game. And we're going to go ahead and flop over here to this image that I have, and it's a good one. The 3 sets that they announced, we already knew the first one, Spark of Rebellion, but the second set is going to be called Shadows of the Galaxy, and the third set is going to be called Twilight of the Republic. Now, my last video, I said I speculated that the second set was going to be Clone Wars, and it looks like I am probably wrong with the way that this is. There might be some stuff in there, but we're likely not going to get a large influx of Republic and Separatist units in Shadows of the Galaxy. Shadows of the Galaxy is likely going to be a very heavy scum and villainy set. Your Landos, your Han Solos, your Boba Fett's, your Jabba the Hutts, those types of characters. And it does look like it might, can't confirm this because I don't know for sure, but based on Spark of the Rebellion, it may be limited to just characters that worked within the stories of the Galactic Civil War. But given that the third set is called Twilight of the Republic, you might also see Clone Wars era characters like Cad Bane, Aura Singh, even Jango Fett, maybe even little Boba Fett, Zero the Hutt. Anybody? I mean, I would love Zero the Hutt. And then Twilight of the Republic. Now, there's a little bit of how do I word this? There's a little bit of discussion on what this actually means. For me, Twilight of the Republic is that piece of time that is starting about halfway through the Clone Wars when the Republic looks to be winning the war, right up to when Vader kills the Separatist leaders. Obi-Wan defeats him, leaves him burned, Palpatine brings him back, and then becomes the Emperor as a result of the events that are there. I think that pocket of time there is likely what Twilight of the Republic is going to take place in. So we'll see a lot of Episode 3 and late Clone Wars themes, but it could be they see this as the entirety of the prequel trilogy, going from Phantom Menace all the way through the end of Revenge of the Sith. So my speculation is it's going to be a little bit more limited, but I would be happy if it were very open to the entirety of the prequel saga, we'll call it. Prequel saga, original saga, sequel saga. And I don't call them trilogies because there's more than just the movies that are involved with each era of the game. Excuse me, of Star Wars. So that's exciting. Like, I'm excited for these 3 sets. The first year, they're not flooding us with a bunch of sets. It's not going to be 12 sets. It's going to be 3 sets. And if they're about 250-ish cards each, I can see a lot of really good stuff associated with the cards that are coming out. 750 cards in the first year is a lot, but given that you're going to be building your decks likely based around what your leader specifically tells you to build, it won't be as much with each individual leader. I didn't necessarily go over this, but I'm going to go ahead and go over this now. They did design each set with limited in mind. That means draft, that means sealed. And they want that to be part of the competitive circuits, but they also want it to be part of the casual connection base of their organized play system. So they have a pre-release set, which is probably going to be something similar to Sealed Deck. You just go in there, you get your cards, hopefully you know how the game is played. Maybe it is even a starter and some booster packs. We don't know yet. That's probably not going to have information until either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. But that's that was the big wish that a lot of people had. Draft sealed, limited options, which is, as they've said multiple times, is ironic because of the name of the game, Star Wars Unlimited. But those of us in the card gaming sphere know what limited means. So a couple cool things here that they have stated about the game itself overall. They're not locked into any specific era. They're not locked into any specific source material. They can use anything and everything that is, I will say, that is canon within Disney's canon, but they didn't specifically say that. So there is hope for Legends, but I would say don't trust the hope, for it has forsaken these lands. Just assume it's going to be only Disney canon. That's to save our little Star Wars hearts. Just stick with that, right? So their organized play program is C3OP. And what that means is it's the 3 C's of organized play: connect, collect, and compete. And those are the 3 pillars of organized play. Connect is getting casual players into the game that just want to play the game, play games with friends, go to a store, get some casual stuff going, and they're not like shooting off to do all kinds of crazy tournaments, but they're also not the types of people that are like, I need every shiny possible. Collect is obviously for collectors and people who want to get the value out of the cards that they get. So organized play program, alternate arts and variants and stuff like that. Alternate arts treatments, bling for cards inside the sets themselves, and maybe some other things that might be coming down the line. And then compete is for the competitive environments and skill in the highest levels of play. That is where your Galactic Championship comes in and your qualifiers that feed into that. So the level of events will have different tournament points when it comes to organized play, right? The regional, the sector, and the planetary qualifier, I think is what they were called. I really should have had this written down. But smaller events will have lesser points awarded. So the first place will get some and then it'll trickle down a little bit. Larger events will have more points. All the points count the same. So whether you win a bunch of small events or whether you win one big event, it's still all going to be the same value of points. You just might receive more in larger events, and more people might receive points in larger events, and that will feed into the Galactic Championship event where you get your invite, and your tournament points will be tied to an account on their dedicated website. They did talk about this a couple of times. This is the first opportunity that they've had to create a dedicated website that will allow them to move forward with having identifiable people within their system, similar to how similar to how Flesh and Blood does, similar to how Wizards does. And I assume that Lorcana is probably going to have the same thing if they really want their thing to be a competitive route. We don't talk about Lorcana here. You'll be able to see your points and share with your friends when you get that invite, and that's going to be their galactic circuit for the years of competitive play and organized program that they're going to have. They did end the stream specifically stating that 2024, no other date given, the global release, global launch of the game. So again, I do believe that simultaneous release across all regions, but they didn't give us a specific date of 2024. I would still assume we're at least a year out. I want to say they're going to want to get it out earlier, but I think it's going to be released around this time of year. The beginning of May will be the first official release for Star Wars Unlimited. As much as I would love to see it sooner, it's not. That's okay. Sometimes we just have to accept that things are not going to happen when we want them to happen, and we just enjoy what happens when they come through and when they happen. So again, as I've made 2 videos about this in 2 days, I'm hyped. Down below in the links, I'm going to link the FFG live stream so you guys can check that out on your own and get any specific information that I passed over. I tried to condense this down as much as possible. We're still about a 15-minute video, obviously. And then there's a Games Radar article that goes over some of what was talked about in the article, and then also the FFG article. And then also the live stream where they did a little bit of an interview with Jim Cartwright, one of the individuals that's responsible for the development of this game. It has the same images that were in the regular article. If you're interested in learning more about it or having another perspective, that will also be linked in the description down below. I was going to say show notes, but this isn't a podcast. That is something I might consider doing, though. Might consider dropping a podcast of my own. I got to see if there's anybody else interested in this game the way that I am. But it is what it is. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me today. Shorter, maybe shorter, I don't know. It's technically a shorter video, but it's more specific. I'm hyped. The 3 set names: Spark of the Rebellion, Shadows of the Galaxy, and Twilight of the Republic. The first year, 3 sets. It's probably not going to be 750 cards across all 3 sets, but it might. Who knows? We'll find out more. Like I said, Gen Con, I think we're going to get another big information dump. I think they should try to release demo decks at the end of the year. That's a hope. Get demo decks out there for the holidays. Get the stores to run demos. I'm going to try to run demos locally here in my area. So we'll see. This is the first real card game since Bleach from Score that I am trying as hard as I can to push as much of myself into it, be competitive. I already have ideas on the way that things might run and the things that I am personally excited for. So I hope you all are excited for this game. Feel free to make comments in the comment section below. Like I say, I know people hate the YouTube thing. That's why I do it at the end. Like and subscribe, comment, share with your friends. Any type of engagement I would very much appreciate. If you guys say something that you need a response for, I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. For those of you that don't know, I used to do Marvel Heroes videos, and I would do the same thing, just respond as best I can, right? So follow me on the socials. They are where they are in every video: Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You're already here on YouTube. Why am I touting my YouTube channel? Anyway, that's it. We are out. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys in the stars.